between Press Secretary Sarah Sanders and a California congressman. An erroneous tweet from the Hill website misquoted Sarah Sanders, saying that the GOP begged Democrats to work on tax reform. Congressman Ted Lieu then responded, "Dear Press Secretary, you don't serve in Congress. I do. And I can say with absolute certainty that you are lying." But here's what Sarah Sanders actually said.
This is a president who would have been happy to take their call and certainly happy to have their vote to help Americans have more money in their paychecks, more money in their pockets, more money for businesses to reinvest in this country. That's something that Democrats shouldn't need to be begged to be part of.
Okay, she later then tweeted to the congressman, "Dear Ted Lieu, I don't serve in Congress, but I can read. If you had read the story, not an incorrect tweet, you would see that what I said was Dems should be begging to help Americans keep more of their money. You should spend less time tweeting, more time doing your job." I guess now is Democratic Congressman Ted Lieu. Good morning, Congressman.
Good morning, Allison.
What's your response to Sarah Sanders that you should spend more time doing your job?
Well, my response is, first of all, the Hill had a tweet that turned out to be incorrect, which meant my tweet was incorrect, and I am totally fine admitting errors. I wish the Trump administration would also admit errors when that happens, and I would urge the press secretary to give her own advice to me, also to her boss.
Meaning spend less time tweeting, more time doing your job?
Oh, yes. I would love the president did that. Exactly.
That's the message you want her to give her boss. Okay, so tweet storm done. Now let's talk about this tax bill that is about to be signed, it looks like, by the president. So, listen, we just had Congressman Sean Duffy on, and he said what we've heard from all sorts of Republicans. You Democrats were invited in. You could have come into the hearings. This wasn't done in the cover of darkness. You could have negotiated with them. You could have made this bipartisan. What's your response?
It was done in the cover of darkness. Let me just give you one example. A provision was inserted this past Friday, and a senator on the Republican side had to write another senator asking, how did that get in there? Because that provision all of a sudden enriched a lot of people on the Republican side who happened to be senators. We got this bill on Monday, and then we voted on it on Tuesday in the House. There were no public hearings where witnesses could go and offer their testimony. This was totally unlike any other legislative process. It was rushed through, which is why we're voting on it again today.
Because there was this procedural hiccup, right, that somehow you got wrong, and now you have to vote on it again, but it's going to pass.
It will likely pass today, that's correct. But let me say, Democrats are not opposed to tax reform. We're opposed to harmful tax reform, and this bill is going to harm America by exploding our deficit by $1.5 trillion. It's then going to require automatic cuts of $25 billion to Medicare, and most of the benefits of this tax bill go to the super wealthy.
But let's talk about this, because this is where the rubber meets the road. Look, the corporate tax rate is going to be lowered. That's something that President Obama wanted. That's something that Democrats wanted. That's something that Republicans wanted. It's happening. So why so much consternation?
I'm not opposed to lowering corporate tax rates, but I am opposed to lowering them if it's going to cause $25 billion of cuts to Medicare. And that's one of the main problems with this tax bill. None of it is paid for. $1.5 trillion of it not paid for. That means not only is Medicare going to be on the chopping block, but eventually Social Security and other programs that really help a lot of Americans. That's why this is such a harmful bill. It's generational theft from our children.
And tell Americans when that's going to happen. What's going to happen next?
So the bill's provisions don't take effect until next year. But next year, some middle-class families will see a tax increase. By 2027, most Americans will see a tax increase, but the corporate tax cuts do not expire. And again, this is really a transfer of wealth from the middle class to the super wealthy and to large corporations.
I understand, but I mean, so you're saying that the benefits for individuals sunset 8 years from now. But listen, that's an eternity. I mean, you know how this works in Congress. Anything's possible. There could be new administrations. There could be a change in the balance of power. Anything's possible by then. So that's not anything that I think Americans really worry about today, in terms of how they're going to pay their bills. 8 years from now, I mean, is that what you Democrats are hanging your hat on in terms of how you're going to tell the American people this isn't good for them?
No, but we are hanging our hat on massive unfairness. The corporate rates don't sunset. And, for example, this tax bill eliminates the state and local tax deduction that's going to cause taxes for millions of middle-class families to rise. It does not eliminate that tax deduction for corporations. So corporations get to still take it, but the middle-class family in California, New York, New Jersey will not.
There you go. Because it's the blue states. It's the people in the Californias, the New Jerseys, the New Yorks, the Connecticuts. Those are the blue states. Those are the ones where the math may not work out in their favor. You, of course, are from California. But, you know, listen, that's just a percentage of Americans. I mean, people not in those states may feel good about this when they see their, tax returns.
Yes, I can understand if a Republican legislator in Alabama voted for this. I cannot understand any Republicans in California, New York, and New Jersey voting for this. And the ones that did, they're going to face a very difficult re-election next November.
Okay, Congressman Ted Lieu, we really appreciate you coming on with your perspective.